The rumor reached me before first period, folded into a whisper, sharpened by three mouths, and delivered with the fake concern people use when they are excited to see you bleed. I was standing at my locker, holding a calculus textbook in one hand and a packet of mint gum in the other, when Tessamar leaned close and said, "Mara, I don't believe it, obviously, but people are saying you wrote the anonymous confession." My fingers went still on the locker dial. Around us, Westbridge College moved in its usual Monday morning rhythm. What shoes squeaking on polished floors, boys arguing over fantasy football, girls fixing lip gloss in dark window reflections, teachers carrying coffee like medicine. Everything looked ordinary, which made it worse, because I had lived this exact morning before. In my first life, that sentence was the spark. I denied it too fast, too loudly, too desperately, and by lunch the whole grade decided desperate sounded guilty. By Friday, I was suspended. By winter, I was gone. This time, with the memory of dying still cold behind my ribs, I turned to Tessa, widened my eyes just enough, and asked, "Which version did you hear?" She blinked. That was the first difference. Rumors are built to run forward, not be examined. "What do you mean, which version?" she asked. "People change things," I said lightly, as if my pulse was not hammering hard enough to bruise. "I'm curious." Tessa glanced down the hall, thrilled and nervous now that I had not exploded. "Okay, so apparently someone sent a confession to the college gossip account saying they helped fake the community service logs for the scholarship finalists. And people think it was you because it mentioned the library program, and you run the library program." There it was. The same skeleton, but not the full body yet. In my first life, I had shouted that I never wrote any confession, never faked any logs, never stole anyone's hours, never touched the anonymous account. The shouting fed it. Every denial became another screenshot captioned, "Why is she panicking if she did nothing?" This time, I unwrapped a piece of gum and placed it on my tongue. Mint cut through the metallic taste of fear. "Interesting," I said. Tessa stared at me like I had answered in another language. "That's it. For now." I shut my locker. "Tell me if the story changes." Of course it would change. That was the point. In my first life, I never understood the rumor until it had already become a cage. It began as a vague post from Westbridge Whisper, the anonymous student gossip page everyone claimed to hate and secretly refreshed between classes. The post said, "A certain scholarship girl built her saint image on fake service hours. Ask her what really happened in the library archive room." No name. No proof. Just enough detail to make the whole grade lean toward me. By second period, people said I had inflated my own hours. By lunch, they said I had edited logs for other scholarship students in exchange for favors. By Wednesday, the story became that I had written an anonymous confession after being threatened, then tried to delete it. By Friday, printed screenshots appeared in the dean's office showing messages from my account to the gossip page. Fake messages, but clean ones. Too clean. The college decided there was sufficient concern to pause my scholarship application. My friends grew careful. Teachers grew disappointed. The real liar, Celia Voss, cried in the grade assembly and said she felt personally betrayed by whoever had corrupted a service program meant to help children. Everyone applauded her maturity. I sat 2 rows behind her with my nails dug into my palms and watched the girl who had framed me receive sympathy for my destruction. Celia Voss was not the loudest girl at Westbridge. She was worse. She was believable. She had that soft, thoughtful face adults trusted before she finished speaking, warm brown eyes, honey blonde hair always tied back in a ribbon, and a way of tilting her head when listening that made teachers feel profound. Her family owned 3 medical clinics, sponsored the college well-being week, and donated computers to the children's library where I volunteered. Celia and I had competed for the same National Civic Scholarship, the kind that paid tuition, summer research placements, and gave interviews to students whose families used words like legacy without embarrassment. I needed that scholarship because my mother worked nights at a pharmacy warehouse and my younger brother's asthma medication cost more each month than our electricity. Celia wanted it because winning was part of her natural order. That was the difference between us. I was climbing. She was defending altitude. In my first life, I thought Celia disliked me because I was poor. That was too simple. Poverty, to people like Celia, is only offensive when it stops being decorative. She loved scholarship students in speeches. She loved tutoring disadvantaged kids while photographers captured her crouching beside them. She loved saying access mattered. What she hated was a scholarship student standing beside her as an equal. I ran the library reading program better than she did. I had more verified hours, stronger reflections, better student feedback, and a recommendation from Ms. Iqbal, the library coordinator, who once told me, "You don't perform kindness, Mara. You do the boring part after everyone else leaves." Celia heard that. She smiled at the time. A week later, the rumor was born. The first time, I tried to kill it with truth. I showed classmates my actual service log. They said screenshots could be edited. I begged Ms. Iqbal to confirm my hours publicly. She said she would support me through the official process, but could not engage in student gossip. I reported Westbridge Whisper. The account posted, "Someone scared." I confronted Celia outside the humanities building because I had seen her watching me with that calm, almost curious expression while everyone else whispered. She cried. Not loudly. Just enough that 2 teachers saw me standing over her with my fists clenched. By the end of the day, the rumor had acquired a new detail. I had threatened Celia because she knew the truth. That was when I learned that a rumor is not a lie people believe by accident. It is a story they enjoy believing because it gives them permission to become cruel. My first life ended after the grade assembly. The dean announced an investigation into service log manipulation without naming me, which of course named me more effectively than a microphone ever could. Celia stood and gave a trembling speech about protecting the integrity of charity work. Students clapped. Someone behind me whispered, "Imagine stealing from little kids." That night, Westbridge Whisper posted a screenshot of a message supposedly for me. I only changed a few hours. Celia knows, but she can't prove it. The timestamp was impossible. I had been at the hospital with my brother during an asthma attack, but by then nobody cared. My mother took my phone to the dean the next morning, eyes red from a night shift, and asked them to check the metadata. They said they would. Weeks passed. My scholarship interview was cancelled pending review. Celia received the college's Service Leadership Award. I stopped sleeping. Then one rainy evening, leaving the library where I had gone to collect proof from old sign-in sheets, I stepped into the road while reading an email that said my application would not proceed. The bus driver braked. Not fast enough. My last memory was the world tipping sideways and the sound of children laughing from the library steps because the reading program had just finished without me. When I woke up again, I was in my bedroom, face stuck to my economics notes, phone buzzing with a Westbridge Whisper notification. The date at the top of the screen made my lungs forget their job. Monday, 2 weeks before the grade assembly. The day the first rumor post appeared. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at my own hands. They were not scraped from asphalt. My left wrist did not ache from the hospital floor. My school blazer hung over my chair, still missing its second button. Downstairs, my brother Leo coughed once, then laughed at something on television. Alive. I was alive before the story had swallowed me. The notification glowed again. Westbridge Whisper. A certain scholarship girl built her saint image on fake service hours. Ask her what really happened in the library archive room. My whole body went cold, but this time the cold did not freeze me. It sharpened me. In my first life, I ran toward the rumor with a bucket of truth and discovered too late that someone had poured petrol everywhere. This time, I would let it burn long enough to show who was holding the match. That was why, when Tessa brought me the rumor at my locker, I did not deny it. Not because I was calm. I was terrified. Terror had simply learned to take notes. First period was literature, and I spent half the class writing down every version I heard in the margin of my notebook. Tessa version, anonymous confession, fake service logs, library program. Ben version, Mara edited her own hours to beat Celia. Priya version, someone found deleted files on the archive room computer. Lucas version, the confession said we, meaning more students were involved. By recess, the rumor had branches. By lunch, it had fruit. I sat in the cafeteria with a yogurt I could not taste while people glanced over and then away. In my first life, those glances cut me open. This time, I counted them. Not because they did not hurt, but because hurt is information if you survive the first wave. Celia approached at 12:43 p.m. with perfect timing. The cafeteria was full enough for witnesses, but noisy enough for plausible privacy. She carried a tray with soup, fruit, and a concerned expression. "Mara," she said softly, "are you okay?" The table quieted. Even my friend Anika, who had defended me fiercely in my first life until the fake screenshots scared her parents, looked uncertain. I looked up at Celia and smiled. Her pupils shifted. Tiny movement. She had expected anger. "I'm all right," I said. "Why?" Her hand tightened around her spoon. "I heard people are saying things. Awful things. People do that. I just want you to know I'm not listening." That was a beautiful line. Generous. Safe. It positioned her above the rumor while letting everyone know she had heard it. "That's kind," I said. Then I added, loudly enough for the table to hear, "What version did you hear?" Celia's smile paused. "Version." Tessa said fake logs. Ben said edited hours. Lucas said archive computer. I'm collecting versions. Anika stared at me. Celia gave a small laugh. "That sounds unhealthy." "Maybe." I stirred my yogurt. But rumors are like group projects. Everyone adds something, and only one person pretends they did all the work. For 1 second, her face emptied. Not long enough for anyone else to catch, but I had died because I missed details. Then Celia recovered. "I'm worried this attitude will make things worse for you." "It might," I said. "Let's see." She stood there a moment longer, unable to decide whether I was collapsing in a new pattern or laying wire under her feet. Then she touched my shoulder, the way kind girls touch wounded animals, and walked away. Anika waited until Celia was out of earshot before whispering, "Mara, what are you doing?" I wanted to tell her everything, that I had seen this before, that the louder I fought, the faster the lie grew teeth. That Celia's sympathy was not softness, but surveillance. Instead, I slid my notebook toward her. On the page were the rumor versions, names, times, and exact wording. Anika read it twice. Her face changed. "You're mapping it?" "Yes." "That's insane." "A little." "Can I help?" My throat tightened so hard I had to look down. In my first life, fear had taken her from me. This time, truth gave her a job. "Yes," I said. "Write down anything you hear. Don't correct it yet." The first pattern appeared by Tuesday afternoon. Every version that mentioned the archive room also mentioned a blue folder. The problem was, Westbridge Whisper had never posted a blue folder. Tessa had not heard blue folder. Ben had not. That detail came from a smaller chain. Priya heard it from Amelia, who heard it from Noah, who heard it from Celia's friend Grace. The blue folder mattered because my real volunteer records were stored in a blue folder at the children's library. Only 3 students knew that. Me, Anika, and Celia, because Celia had once helped me carry supplies after a reading session and saw me hand the folder to Ms. Iqbal. In my first life, the fake screenshots later included the phrase, "I moved the blue folder before anyone checked." I had been so busy screaming that the messages were fake, I never stopped to ask how the rumor knew the color before the screenshots appeared. On Wednesday, I began feeding the rumor. Carefully. Not lies about myself, exactly. Hooks. To Tessa, I sighed and said, "I just hope nobody drags the printer room into this." To Ben, I muttered that the Saturday sign-in sheet proves nothing without the stamps. To Lucas, I said nothing at all, only stared at him when he mentioned the archive computer. Each hook went to a different stream. By Thursday, only one hook returned. The printer room. Westbridge Whisper posted, "Maybe ask why the service logs were printed after hours." Printer rooms have cameras, babe. I had never printed logs after hours. But Celia had taken the bait. Or someone close enough to her had. Better yet, the post did not mention Saturday stamps or the archive computer. It mentioned my Tessa hook. Tessa was not the liar. She was too excited by the rumor to carry it cleanly. But Tessa's best friend Grace ate lunch with Celia every day. The fire had a direction now. I did not go to the dean yet. That was the hardest part. Every instinct screamed to run with my evidence and demand action before the fake screenshots appeared. But First Life Mara had taught me what happens when you enter an office with fragments while the liar still controls the narrative. Adults love complete stories. If you bring them half a trap, they call it teenage drama. So I waited. I attended classes. I volunteered at the library. I smiled when people whispered. I let the rumor grow like a plant I hated but needed to bloom before I could show its roots. At night, I built a folder on my laptop titled Weather Report because calling it evidence made my hands shake. Inside were screenshots, timestamps, rumor maps, voice notes from Anika, and a spreadsheet of wording changes. I also backed up my phone location history, my library sign-in records, and copies of the real service logs Ms. Iqbal had emailed me months earlier. I changed my passwords. I enabled two-factor authentication. Then I did one more thing First Life Mara never considered. I messaged Westbridge Whisper from a new anonymous account and wrote, "You're being used. Check who gave you blue folder and printer room." No reply came. That was fine. Seeds do not answer. By Friday, Celia became impatient. Rumors are supposed to weaken the target, but I had not collapsed. Worse, people were beginning to enjoy the mystery more than the accusation. Westbridge students loved scandal, but they loved puzzles even more if exams were boring. At lunch, two boys from physics argued over whether the printer room even had cameras. A group of girls near the windows debated whether Westbridge Whisper was run by someone in our grade or the year above. Tessa asked me openly whether I had a suspect. I shrugged and said, "Rumors usually panic when they run out of new details." That sentence made its way around. By last period, Celia's friend Grace cornered Anika in the bathroom and asked why I was acting smug. Anika, bless her, replied, "Maybe because liars get sloppy when they think people are stupid." Grace stormed out. Anika texted me one word: hooked. The fake screenshot appeared Sunday night at 9:18 p.m., exactly one day earlier than in my first life. Celia had accelerated. Westbridge Whisper posted a cropped message allegedly from me. I only adjusted the logs because Celia was going to beat me. Nobody was supposed to find the blue folder. Beneath it, the caption read, "Scholarship season makes saints into accountants." My phone exploded. The messages from classmates, unknown numbers, one from a junior I had helped teach reading. "Miss Mara, is this true?" That one broke me. Not completely. Just enough that I had to sit on the bathroom floor and press a towel to my mouth so Leo would not hear me sob. Letting the rumors spread did not make me invincible. Strategy did not turn pain into glass I could not feel. It only gave pain a purpose. After 10 minutes, I stood, washed my face, opened my laptop, and saved the screenshot in Weather Report. Then I checked the timestamp. In my first life, I had been accused of sending that message during my brother's hospital visit. This time, Celia had posted it earlier, before the hospital night that had once saved me as an alibi. She thought she was smarter. She had actually made the lie easier to corner. At 9:41 p.m., I posted from my real account for the first time. Not a denial. Not a rant. One sentence: "Please keep sharing every version you see. Do not delete anything." The reaction was immediate and strange. Some people mocked it. Some called it creepy. Some said I was threatening legal action. Others became intrigued. Screenshots poured into my messages. People love contributing to a public autopsy once they suspect the body might stand up. Anika created a shared folder. Tessa, perhaps motivated by guilt or curiosity, sent me 5 screenshots from Grace's private story, including one posted at 8:52 p.m. that said, "Tomorrow is going to be delicious." Grace deleted it minutes later. Too late. At 10:13, Westbridge Whisper replied to my anonymous message. "Who is this?" I typed back, "Someone who knows you posted a fake screenshot containing details that came from Celia's table before the screenshot existed. Check your submissions." The account went silent. At 10:29, the post disappeared. That disappearance did more than any denial could have. By morning, The rumor had turned on itself. Why delete it? Did Mara threaten them? Was it fake? Did Celia know? Celia arrived at college looking pale under careful makeup. For the first time, her concern looked less like theater and more like calculation under bad lighting. She found me near the humanities stairs, away from the main crowd but not hidden. "Mara," she said, voice low, "this has gone too far." Agreed. Her eyes searched mine. "If you know who's spreading it, you should report it instead of encouraging chaos." "I will." "When?" "At the right time." Her jaw tightened. "This isn't a game." I stepped closer.
No.
"It was a game when you thought I didn't know the rules." Her face changed, just for a second. Fear, real and bright, flickered across it. Then footsteps approached, and she softened instantly. "I hope you get help," she whispered, and walked past me like I was the unstable one. Monday afternoon, the dean announced a whole grade assembly for Wednesday morning regarding digital conduct, anonymous harassment, and integrity in service documentation. In my first life, that assembly destroyed me. This time, it became the room where the liar would panic. But not because the dean had suddenly become a detective. Adults rarely arrive at truth without being dragged by paperwork. The real change came from Westbridge Whisper. Tuesday night, the anonymous account sent me a file.
No apology. No explanation.
Just 4 screenshots of submission forms from their inbox. Names were hidden, but timestamps, wording, and attached images were visible. The fake screenshot had been submitted by an account called Gardenia Sunday. That meant nothing to most people. To me, it meant Celia. Gardenias were her mother's clinic logo. Sunday was the day her family hosted scholarship donors every year. She had once complained about the Gardenia Sunday brunch in front of me. More importantly, the submission form contained the original image file name, MV_confession_edit2, PNG. Edited twice. Not proof of Celia alone, but proof enough to force a question. Westbridge Whisper's final message said, "We didn't know it was fake. Don't expose us, please." I laughed so hard, I almost threw up. The anonymous account that had fed on everyone's humiliation was afraid of embarrassment. Poetic, maybe. Useful, definitely. I did not promise to protect them. I forwarded the file to Ms. Iqbal first, then to the dean, then to my mother. Ms. Iqbal called me within 7 minutes. "Mara," she said, in the voice adults use when they are trying not to sound alarmed and therefore sound terrifying. "Are you safe?" The question almost broke me again. Not innocent. Not guilty. Safe. Yes. Do not meet with any student alone before the assembly. Okay. And Mara? Yes. Her voice softened. "I have your real service records. All of them." I sat on my bed, phone pressed to my ear, and cried silently because sometimes the truth is not enough, but it is still something to hear it held by someone else. Wednesday morning, the auditorium filled with the whole senior grade, teachers along the walls, the dean at the lectern, and a screen behind him displaying the Westbridge College crest. The room smelled like carpet, perfume, and fear. Celia sat 3 rows ahead of me beside Grace, back straight, ribbon perfect, hands folded in her lap. If I had not known her, I might have admired her composure. But I saw the signs, the way she kept touching her bracelet, the way Grace whispered and received no answer, the way Celia looked once toward the side exit before the dean began. Anika sat beside me, knee bouncing. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "No," I whispered back. "But I'm ready." That was the most honest thing I had said all week. The dean began with the usual speech about values. Integrity, respect, digital citizenship, community trust. Words schools polish, so often they become slippery. Students shifted, expecting a lecture. Then he clicked the remote and the screen changed to a timeline. Monday, initial anonymous post regarding service logs. Tuesday, circulation of archive room rumor. Thursday, printer room claim. Sunday, fabricated message screenshot. A murmur moved through the auditorium. The dean did not name me, but everyone knew. My face burned. My hands were cold. "This college takes allegations of service fraud seriously," he said. We also take fabricated accusations seriously. Over the past 48 hours, staff have reviewed verified volunteer records, library sign and documentation, printer logs, account security data, and submitted materials from the anonymous account involved. The room changed. The gossip energy drained, replaced by something heavier. People were realizing this was not a scolding.
It was an autopsy.
He clicked again. The screen displayed the fake screenshot with my name blacked out. This image was circulated as evidence. It is not authentic. A ripple of gasps. Celia's head lowered slightly. Grace turned to her, confused. The dean continued. The student whose name was attached to this image did not send this message. Device data, account login records, and the image's internal editing history contradict the claim. He clicked again, showing file metadata. I did not understand all of it, but I understood enough. Creation software, edit timestamps, exported PNG. Furthermore, several details in the rumor circulated before any supposed evidence appeared. Those details were not public. They originated from a small group of students with prior knowledge of the service archive process. Celia's shoulders tightened. That was when the room began looking around. Not at me only. At each other. Suspicion had changed direction, and it was dizzying. Then the dean made his first mistake, or maybe his first useful cruelty. We are giving the student responsible an opportunity to come forward before formal disciplinary steps proceed.
He paused.
If you submitted or helped create the fabricated material, stand now. Nobody moved. Of course, nobody moved. This was not a movie, and liars do not rise because an adult offers them a moral exit. The silence stretched. The dean's expression hardened. Very well. He clicked again. The screen changed to a list of rumor details and first known sources, names replaced with initials. Blue folder, CV table group. Printer room, passed from TM to GR to CV friend group. Archive computer, traced through GR Saturday stamps, not circulated. The room became electric. Initials were not names, but Westbridge students could decode a social circle faster than they could solve algebra. Grace's face went white. She grabbed Celia's sleeve. Celia shook her off. The dean did not point at Celia.
He did not need to.
One student has already provided a statement admitting they repeated details supplied by another student without verification. Grace made a small sound, like air leaving a punctured balloon. Celia turned to her, so sharply half the row noticed. The dean continued, "We have also received the original submission record sent to the anonymous account. The college is working with digital services to identify the sender." That was not entirely true yet. They did not have the sender's legal identity, but they had enough to scare someone who thought metadata was a word adults used to sound modern. Celia stood. The whole auditorium stopped breathing. She had not meant to stand fully. I saw that instantly. Panic pulled her halfway up before strategy caught her ankles. "Dean Albright," she said, voice trembling but loud enough. "This is becoming dangerous." The dean looked at her carefully. "Celia, do you need to say something?"
There.
The question became a spotlight. Celia swallowed. "I think it's unfair to imply people based on initials and gossip. Everyone has been repeating things. Mara has been encouraging people to send her rumors all week. She basically turned the whole grade into spies." My name landed in the room like a thrown glass. In my first life, it would have cut me. This time it cut the wrong way. Because she had named me. The dean had not. The screen had not. In defending against an implication, Celia had tied herself to it. Dean Albright's expression shifted. Mara asked students to preserve evidence after a fabricated accusation was circulated against her. Celia's face flushed. But she let it spread. "Yes," I said, standing before fear could sit me back down. Every head turned. My legs felt hollow, but my voice came out clear. I let it spread because every time I denied it in private, the story changed. I wanted to know who was adding details. The auditorium was silent. I looked at Celia, not the dean, not the teachers, not the students who had enjoyed my humiliation for a week. The blue folder detail came before the fake screenshot. The printer room detail came from a sentence I only said to Tessa. The Saturday stamps detail never spread because I only said it to Ben, and Ben didn't pass it to your table. The fake confession included the blue folder because whoever made it was not reacting to evidence. She was building evidence out of her own rumor. Celia's mouth opened. No sound came. Grace began crying. Not elegant crying. Messy, frightened crying. I didn't know it was fake, she said. Celia turned on her. Shut up. 2 words. Quiet, sharp, real. The microphone did not catch them, but the row did. The students behind her recoiled. Grace covered her mouth. The dean stepped forward.
Celia.
She realized then. Realized she had stood, named me, attacked the evidence collection, and snapped at the friend who had been carrying pieces of her lie. Panic moved across her face, like weather. No, she said. No, this is being twisted. I didn't make anything. I was trying to protect the service program. Mara has always been obsessed with beating me for the scholarship. It was her old line, but now it sounded rehearsed because the room had heard too much structure to accept atmosphere alone. She looked around for rescue. Teachers avoided her eyes. Grace cried harder. Tessa looked like she wanted to crawl under the chair. Celia's gaze landed on me, and for the first time in either life, she looked less like a queen than a girl who had built a throne from paper and heard rain. Dean Albright asked her to step into the side office. She did not move. No, she said again, softer. If I leave now, everyone will think I did it. The whole grade heard that sentence. Even the students who had not followed the timeline understood the shape of guilt when it spoke plainly. The dean's face tightened. Celia, come with me. I didn't post it, she said. Grace sent things. Everyone sent things. Westbridge Whisper edited it. Mara trapped me. The words came faster now, each one trying to shove blame somewhere else, and instead dragging more of it into the light. I only said the folder was blue, because she showed it to me. I only told Grace about the printer, because Mara was acting suspicious. I didn't know they would make a screenshot. I didn't make the screenshot. She stopped. Too late. The auditorium was so quiet I could hear the projector hum. You just what?
Dean Albright asked.
Celia pressed both hands to her mouth. Her eyes filled, but this time the tears had no choreography. They arrived because control had left. Grace whispered, Celia, you told me it was real. Celia shook her head violently. I said it looked real. You told me to send it to Whisper. Because I thought they should check. You said if it posted before assembly, Mara couldn't hide. A teacher moved toward Grace, probably to calm her, but the damage was already public. Celia backed into her chair.
Stop, she said.
Stop talking. There it was again. Not remorse.
Not apology. Command.
The real liar had not collapsed because evidence accused her. She collapsed because the people she used began speaking without permission. The assembly ended in chaos disguised as order. Teachers separated students by rows. Celia and Grace were taken to separate offices. Dean Albright told everyone not to speculate, which caused speculation to multiply with religious intensity. Anika grabbed my hand so tightly our fingers hurt. You did it, she whispered. I did not feel victorious. My whole body was shaking now that it no longer needed to pretend. People stared as we left the auditorium. Some looked ashamed. Some looked curious. Some looked disappointed, as if I had ruined a fun game by surviving it. Tessa approached me near the exit, eyes red.
Mara, I'm sorry.
I didn't know it was going to. You didn't care where it was going, I said. The words came out colder than I expected. She flinched. I almost softened. Then I remembered my first life, how every person who had repeated the lie later acted like the rumor had moved through them without consent. Next time, I said, care earlier. She nodded, crying silently, and stepped aside. The formal investigation took 2 weeks, but the truth had already escaped. Celia had not acted alone in the sense that no rumor acts alone. Grace admitted she had passed details to Westbridge Whisper after Celia told her there was proof coming. Westbridge Whisper admitted receiving the fake screenshot from Gardenia Sunday and posting it without verification because scandal performed better than caution. Digital services traced Gardenia Sunday to a device on Celia's home network. Celia's parents argued that the network was shared. Then the editing software license used to create the image was linked to Celia's school laptop. Her final defense was that she had made a mock-up to show what someone could fabricate, and Grace had misunderstood. That was almost impressive. Even cornered, she tried to turn a forged knife into a safety demonstration. The college did not buy it, not fully. Not after the assembly. Not after the panic. Not after, "If I leave now, everyone will think I did it," had become the most repeated sentence in senior grade history. Celia lost her scholarship nomination. She was suspended from student leadership, required to complete restorative conduct meetings, and barred from service awards pending review. Her family did not vanish from Westbridge. Families like hers rarely do. They sent legal letters, requested privacy, complained about the assembly's handling. Dean Albright, perhaps realizing public panic was harder to bury than private injustice, held firm enough. Grace received a lesser penalty for spreading unverified information and cooperating. Westbridge Whisper shut down for 4 days, then returned with a post about mental health and accountability, so hypocritical even students who loved gossip reported it. The account disappeared by the end of term. As for me, my real service records were verified. Ms. Iqbal wrote a recommendation, so fierce the scholarship panel later asked whether I planned to pursue law. She wrote that I had shown integrity under pressure, not because I had remained silent, but because I had preserved truth until it could survive contact with public opinion. I read that line 12 times. Integrity had always been sold to me as immediate honesty, pure and bright, but my second life taught me something darker. Sometimes truth needs strategy, because lies have infrastructure. My scholarship interview was reinstated. My mother cried when the email came. Leo asked if this meant rich girls could go to jail for Photoshop. I told him probably not, and he said the justice system sounded underdeveloped. Celia returned to campus, once before final exams. She looked thinner, her ribbon gone, hair loose around her face. Students watched with the greedy shame of people who had fed on both her lie and her fall. I saw her near the library steps after my volunteer session. For a second, the first life flashed over the second, me walking into rain, phone in hand, email ending my future, children laughing behind me, the bus horn, the dark. My knees weakened. Celia saw me and stopped. We stood 5 meters apart in the pale afternoon light. She spoke first. "You ruined me." Her voice was quiet.
No tears.
No audience. Just accusation stripped bare. I laughed once, not because anything was funny, but because the sentence was so perfectly hers. "Celia, you forged a confession and sent it to a gossip page. You let everyone think it might be true." "No," I said. "You did." Her mouth tightened. "You could have stopped it earlier." That was the closest she would ever come to admitting she started it. I looked at the library windows, at the children's drawings taped inside, at the place where my first life had ended after trying to stop it earlier. "I tried that once," I said. "It didn't work."
She stared at me.
"What does that mean?" I could have told her I had died. I could have told her she was looking at the ghost of a girl her lie had already killed in another version of the world. But Celia would only have turned even that into evidence of instability. Some people do not deserve your deepest truth because they will use it as material. "It means I learned," I said. She looked away first. For all her cruelty, she was still 17, still caught in the wreckage of a future she believed belonged to her. I felt something then that was not pity exactly. Recognition, maybe. Celia had been raised to treat losing as death. I had died and learned losing was not the worst thing. Becoming someone else's weapon against yourself was worse. "You know," I said, surprising us both, "you probably would have gotten another scholarship somewhere." Her face twisted. "Don't. You didn't have to do this. Don't act kind now." "I'm not." I shifted my bag on my shoulder. "I'm just telling you the part that makes it stupid." She laughed then, sharp and broken. "You think you're better than me." In my first life, I would have denied it because good girls are trained to reject superiority even when standing over their own graves. This time, I thought about it seriously. Was I better? Not pure. Not harmless. I had let a rumor spread. I had fed hooks into it. I had watched people repeat poison so I could trace the poisoner. That was not innocence. But innocence had not saved me. No, I said finally. I think I'm responsible for what I do next. You should try it. She flinched as if I had slapped her. Then she walked past me into the library without another word. The scholarship results arrived in late summer. I won. Not because of the scandal, though I am sure it made my application memorable. I won because my service was real, my interview was strong, and Ms. Iqbal's recommendation made me sound braver than I felt. At the award ceremony, Dean Albright shook my hand and said Westbridge was proud of my resilience. I smiled for the photo because my mother was watching, but inside I felt the old anger stir. Institutions love resilient students because resilience makes survival sound like a personality trait instead of evidence that something tried to crush you. Still, the check was real. The placement was real. The future opening in front of me was real. I could hold anger and gratitude in the same hand.
People rarely tell you that.
They act like healing is choosing one. Before graduation, the senior grade made a time capsule. Everyone contributed one object. Anika added a friendship bracelet. Leo, who was not in our grade and had no respect for rules, tried to add an inhaler for historical asthma representation. I added a printed copy of the rumor timeline with the names removed. Not because I wanted future students to know the scandal. Because I wanted someone someday to understand how a lie travels. Not like lightning, but like a relay race. One person starts it. 10 people carry it. 50 people pretend carrying is not choosing. On the back, I wrote, preserve evidence. Ask who benefits. Care earlier. Then I folded it and placed it in the box. Graduation day was clear, almost offensively bright. No rain, no slick road, no bus horn. My mother sat in the front row because Ms. Iqbal had saved her seat. Leo wore a tie badly and waved at me every time I looked over. Celia did not attend. Grace did, sitting at the edge of her row, quieter than I had ever seen her. When my name was called for the service award, the applause felt strange. I had imagined vindication would be loud, clean, something that washed away the whispers. It was not. It was layered. Some clapped because they were proud. Some because they were guilty. Some because clapping for the person you doubted is easier than apologizing. I accepted the certificate, looked out at the whole grade, and did not search for Celia's face. That more than the award felt like victory. After the ceremony, Ms. Iqbal found me by the library display table. You'll visit? She asked. Of course. Good. The children still ask for you. My throat tightened. In my first life, one of the last messages I received before the accident was from a child asking whether I had lied to them. In this life, the children had never been given that version long enough to believe it. I'll come next Saturday, I said. Ms. Iqbal smiled. Mara, one more thing. She handed me a blue folder. The blue folder. My real service records, clean, stamped, ordinary. I held it with both hands. It should not have felt sacred. It was cardstock and paper clips. But some objects become holy after someone tries to use them as a weapon and fails.
Keep it, she said.
You earned every page. That night, I sat at my desk with the blue folder open, reading through the sign-in sheets. Dates, times, children's names, book titles, notes from sessions. Boring proof. Beautiful proof. My phone buzzed with messages from classmates. Congratulations, apologies, awkward paragraphs about believing in me all along. I answered some, ignored others. Forgiveness, I had learned, was not a public resource people could request after spending your pain for entertainment. Anika came over with cheap cake, and Leo insisted we light candles even though it was not my birthday. It's your not dead day, he said through a mouthful of icing. I froze. He did not know. Of course he did not know. But my body remembered asphalt, headlights, the bus, the terrible fading. Anika noticed my face and squeezed my wrist under the table. To not dead days, she said softly, raising her fork. I laughed and cried at the same time, which made Leo panic and offer me the corner piece with extra frosting. Years later, people might tell the story simply. A rumor spread, the real liar panicked, the innocent girl was cleared. They will leave out the waiting. Stories always do. They will not understand what it costs to let people misunderstand you on purpose while you collect the knife handles. They will not know how hard it is to stay silent when your name is being dragged through hallways you still have to walk. They will not know that strategy can look like weakness from the outside, that patience can feel like swallowing glass, that sometimes the bravest thing is not shouting truth, but building a room where truth can finally stand without being shouted down. I am not proud of every moment. I am proud that I survived them. On my first day at university, orientation leaders warned us about anonymous campus pages. Everyone left. I did not. A girl beside me rolled her eyes and said, "Rumors are harmless if you don't care." I looked at her, at the bright lecture hall, at the hundreds of students trying to become new versions of themselves before anyone knew their old names. "Rumors are never harmless," I said. She glanced at me, surprised by my seriousness. I softened my voice. "But they're not magic either. They need carriers." She nodded slowly, maybe understanding, maybe not. That was fine. Some lessons only become real when life demands them. When roll call reached my name, I answered clearly. Mara Ellison. Present. Not cleared by popularity. Not saved by immediate denial. Not destroyed by a story someone else wrote. Present, with a blue folder in my bag, a scholarship email saved on my phone, and a new rule written on the first page of my notebook. When a lie starts running, don't chase it blindly. Watch who feeds it. Because the truth does not always arrive like thunder. Sometimes it arrives as a timeline, a deleted post, a friend who finally speaks, a liar standing in front of the whole grade, and realizing the rumor she built has turned around to face her.